was getting kind of a little pissed about 2-day shipping. We're at a point now where 2 days is not long enough, which is insane. What's going on, everybody? This is Matt with another episode of the What's Your Hustle podcast. I got Jamie Foltz with us. This is going to be an interesting episode because you are the first person on the episode with a beard longer than mine. No, I was kidding.
Right? I thought about leaving it down, but I didn't want to have my shirt.
No, show it off. No, somebody that actually has their own podcast. So it's nice to kind of collaborate and talk. Have a couple in the works that are in that same field, but this is going to be a good one. I can feel it. So tell me a little bit about you, your channel, the message that you're putting out, and let's jump right in.
So what's your hustle, huh? That's what it's called?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I dig that.
Yeah, it's you know, what gets you going. Right. Kind of play it, branding.
I like the way it's phrased because I've been a hustler my whole life, man. I'm Jamie, 48 years old. Been from Winchester my whole life, lived here, since I was born. Got in a lot of trouble when I was younger, man, got into drugs, got running with the wrong crowd, started stealing, going to jail, ended up going to prison, came home from prison and still didn't do right. And, started recently within the last 2 or 3 years, kind of turning all that around into who I am today. And pushing the fact that, addiction's not a way to live. You know what I mean? You can get out of it because I know what it was like when I was trapped in those cells and that endless chaos. I felt like there was no way out. So I'm kind of here to show people, man, there is a way out. You can be productive in life. You got to get up and want it. And you have to hustle as hard to live a good life as you did to get the drugs and things that you did in the bad life. Yeah, no, it's definitely, you see it, you can see it on both spectrums, the real life. Everybody probably has that one person that they hear of addiction and immediately pops into their head. But then you also see it on the, the celebrity side as well, which is kind of crazy because I sometimes think like, you see these big figures that are making it big and making all these millions. Yeah, I turned my life around. This is what I'm doing. But sometimes that's not the case for every, sometimes it's just turning your life around. Right. And getting on that right path. And I kind of got drawn to you really quick. I think we connected through Facebook and just immediately, I deep dive into, I'm an unprofessional stalker. Right.
But I immediately hit the channel and watched a couple episodes, looked at some of the shorts you're doing, some of the other content. And immediately I was like, man, this dude's doing it. He's doing it the way that it's tougher. We've talked about the stuff that you're going through a little bit that makes it tough. But at the same time, like, you got your hustle going on, So
and it's building a community too, man. It's a community of people now that are responding to the positivity of what's going on through even, my Facebook's under my name, my YouTube's under Spanking Monkeys. The YouTube's kind of separated, but the Facebook's in the community here. Yeah. Like we're getting ready to do an event where all the plant sales from this weekend are going to go to fill backpacks for kids. Like we have the school list. This is the supplies they're supposed to have. We're going to buy backpacks. We're going to fill them up. So every hemp plant bought at Ambrosia Acres, which is going to be done at Tobacco Hut this weekend. I don't know when this will come out, but we do them every weekend regardless. Yeah. It's going to fill backpacks. And then at the end of the month, we're going to have 2 different places, I think, up at the Sportsplex and then at Timbrook Park. We're going to set up there and people can come get their backpacks full of stuff.
That's awesome.
So it's like building this community, man, that gives back to and shows that like those of us that are in this, team that's doing all this, a lot of us haven't always been where we are right now in life.
No,
and now we're giving back. And it just, that's kind of what my stuff's all about, man.
Yeah. And that's just the way I see it. I see the hustle, the grind. And I know it's tough from a content and from a, channel perspective, because it is tough, especially now. There are millions of videos that are going out every day. It's just never ending supply. So to be able to get your stuff out in front of the right people, get it in front of the people that not so much want to see it, but need to see it. Right. That's the idea. But then also, like you said, building that community, building that foundation of like, hey, look, we're here. This is where I'm located. And I'm going to kind of do what I can to bring as many people up as possible, and I think that's
and educate those that don't understand. You know what I mean? Because some people are in a family with someone, let's just say it's 4 or 5 people, nobody's ever been an addict. And now the middle daughter's an addict and she's out there on meth and people don't understand. Like, why? Why is she doing this? Why does she choose that? Why does she keep pushing us away? That's what the channel's about, is describing like why. Like, we don't even understand. She doesn't know why. She really doesn't know why. If that, that's a whole hypothetical scenario, but she doesn't know why. And this is kind of like to teach them people, man, what to do in those situations a little bit, what to expect.
And then also, like, I don't know, it's tough because you do have that fine line you have to walk, but not turning your back on people either, understanding that, it's tough. They're already in a tough situation, right? And I understand that there's limits that you have to go through. You have to set your boundaries with anybody that you come across, whether it's addiction or not. But it's one of those where, like, getting that information out of, like, I guarantee they didn't wake up one morning and say, you know what, I want to be an addict. No. And that's that misconception of like, well, they made this choice. I don't necessarily agree with it. Younger days, it was one of those, you had that harsh reality or that harsh statement of like, well, they made it. Well, sometimes you don't even know you're making that choice until you're too far down that path. And luckily I have not gone that route. I have not had any issues in that field, but there's plenty of people in my life that have, maybe not to an extreme, and there's a couple that have maybe, but to sit here and be like, oh, well, they made that. I don't think they did. Yes, they made choices that put them down that path, but they didn't look at that choice as this is the one domino that's now going to knock everything down.
They definitely didn't play the tape all the way through.
Correct. Facts. Yeah. So I really think it's cool with what you're doing, and then also giving back to the community. Like, I think it's blessings in a backpack. There's a couple different,
this was like adopt a clone, adopt a kid.
Yeah. So there's a bunch. So I've been involved with a couple different, blessings in a backpack is one. I think Stuff the Bus is another one. Cool. So, like that, as soon as you started mentioning it, I was like, oh, I know exactly that's really awesome.
I did a thing last year. I don't think it was this past Christmas, but it was the Christmas before that. Cause I'm not really busy at Christmas time. I'm a tattooer, right? Most people are spending money on Christmas at Christmas time. Yeah. So I just did a donation based thing from the community to get, I called it Bikes for Tykes, which I guess is easy and other people's probably done 100 times, but I went around and I think I ended up purchasing $4,500 worth of bicycles and skateboards and things like that people just sent money to my Cash App, you know what I mean? Trusting me to go buy the bicycles. And then I got a list of kids. People would ask and say, hey, I got a girl, I got a boy. And they were literally asking for 12-inch Spider-Man bicycles. And we was filling them orders, man. And that was cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To give all that back to see them kids have the big smiles. And then I got a couple videos of Christmas morning when they opened up their bicycles, and it's rewarding.
That there is probably worth it in itself.
Absolutely.
And not even from like a selfish standpoint, but like, dude, that's got to be.
Well, you want people to feel a certain way when they give things, right?
Oh yeah.
Like it's easy for a millionaire to just donate $100 to you. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But when somebody broke gives you $20, you know what I'm saying? They're caring about something, right?
Yeah. No, and it's funny because I think about stuff like that and how they're just doing it for selfish reasons. But at the end of the day, if somebody's like just doing it just to be able to go viral or try to go viral on social media, at the end of the day, you're still helping somebody. So we're really going to kind of like hate on that. Like,
there's whole channels based around that. Have you ever seen That Was Epic?
I've heard of them.
That's all he does. He just goes around, pays rent, and gives people money, asks them a question, has a little conversation, brightens their day up, and rolls out. And he makes money doing it, get to do it more.
And then you just rinse, repeat.
Sure. And he's supposed to live good by that too.
Yeah.
Like it ain't like he's supposed to be living in a camper while he does that.
Yeah.
He's supposed to have something nice.
Well, you also, at the end of the day, that is something that is more of like a business, and I wouldn't say business, but you probably got a income tax and all the
but having the business of changing people's lives, like, bro, that's a business I want to be in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you mentioned tattooing. So you're a man of many hats. So you full-time tattoo artist, and then you also do your podcast and YouTube channel. You also told me that you're at the beginning works of kind of partnering up with another business,
producing content for another business owner in the area.
Awesome. Yeah. Tell
So
me.
that's been fun. So for me, I grew up building decks and stuff, man. I think I started building decks when I was 13. I stayed with my dad for a summer. He put me to work. So construction business until I was 26 and went to prison. So I went to prison for robbing a pharmacy in 98
Okay.
for Oxycontin. Okay. So I got 6 years for that. I come home in 2009. The construction market was crap at that time. So I started working at Jiffy Lube. I worked there for a year and a half. My buddy started doing siding. I worked with him for a couple of years. And then I started getting back into crazy trouble again. But during this time, my co-defendant from the pharmacy robbery came home from prison, and he had been tattooing in prison. So I never tattooed in prison. I just did my own hustles, but I never tattooed. I run a store, whatever. But when he come home, he was going to tattoo. I'm going to tattoo. I'm going to tattoo. You know, by the way, rest in peace, because he overdosed on fentanyl about 9 months ago and is not here anymore. But I was like, yo, I'll open a shop and maybe I'll pierce and kind of run a shop. You can tattoo. And he's like, dude, you can draw. It's like, order a tattoo kit. So $100, Amazon, order a tattoo kit. Not a good idea if you're going to start tattooing that way. Spend some money, get some knowledge, because I just thought I could do anything, you know what I mean? But anyways, 10 years later, I actually started doing good tattoos. You know, it was a hustle for me that wasn't something breaking the law. They couldn't lock me up for tattooing the way they could lock me up for everything else I had done up to that point. So I wanted to do something legal that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I still did side, and I tattooed on the weekends. And then like 2 years ago, I took my little parlor and I painted it and decorated it and cleaned it up. And I'm tired of stepping around in mud. I'm tired of being on roofs all day. I'm tired of climbing ladders,
The
bro.
heat. Yeah.
Right. It's too hot. It's too cold. There's water dripping on me. You know what I mean? So I just said I went full time, bro. And that's what I've been doing for like 2.5 years. And then the YouTube came from the downtime from tattooing. Because there's not a, you know what I mean? I'm not working 40-hour weeks. So
You have your
schedule. Some days I might work, 6-7 hours, and some days I might have 3 days off.
Yeah.
Like my next 4 days is nothing. I have nothing but content for the next 4 days. You know what I mean? So that's where that came from, is just because the scheduling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's say you was going to come in and somebody would cancel the day before. Now I got nothing to do tomorrow. What am I going to do? YouTube.
There you go.
Make videos. You know what I'm saying?
Make content.
And it started out we talked about this earlier too, like influencers, right? You're looking at influencers, and if you look at TikTok and the viral videos and you're thinking about the things that are influential, it's a lot of nonsense. It's a lot of rubbish.
Yeah.
It's not something you can internalize and learn from, I feel like. So that's where mine started, was I'm just going to be an idiot and I'm going to make idiot videos. And I did that. And I made a dude wipe box. Like, you know what dude wipes are?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like baby wipes for men. You keep it on your toilet, whatever. So I made a box and I started doing these.
The marketing and branding on that. That's crazy. Bro, it's the same amazing. Exact thing as a baby wipe. But
yeah, well, they started using because they were eating. They were all in college, 4 or 5 of them, eating a bunch of pizza, having horrible poops, and then they decided to make this product. It's
Boom.
Pretty crazy.
Now
so I looked into it. Yeah. Anyways, I started doing stupid stuff like that, man, and it just got a little bit of attention. People liked it. It didn't go as far as I wanted it to, so I switched gears.
Yeah. Well, you definitely, it's one of those, you always have to evolve, right? If
right.
Something's not working, you gotta switch it up. Don't keep trying to do the same
And then
thing.
I think, just like I just said a minute ago with my co-defendant dying, that changed a lot of things, because I was going to the gym that morning when I found out, and I just made a rolling video in my truck on my way to the gym, like, yo, this is effed up. I don't understand why people don't care. And it not like it got a lot of responses that I wasn't expecting, because it was the same people that have been there the whole time kind of responding.
Yeah.
But that changed the direction of what I wanted to do with the channel a lot. So, and I had already had it plotted that I wanted to do podcasts with addicts, but it just changed the feeling of it, if that makes sense.
It brings it a little bit closer to the heart.
Yeah.
I think is a good way to describe it from what I'm sounding. So from what it sounds like. So it's kind of puts another perspective on it as well. And I think that happens with a lot of good things, mm-hmm. right? It starts out as, I'm just doing this for whatever reason, for laughs, right? Or for entertainment. And then you realize, okay, I can do this for good, mm-hmm. not just, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's good to kind of, with an unfortunate event, right? You kind of can turn it now into a positive thing that you're kind of leading,
moving forward to. And in that same situation, his mother is like 82 years old. He was with her, without getting into all that. she made 19 cents too much a month from the government for the government to help her with the money she needed. So she was $1,200 short. She couldn't even get her son's body back from being cremated, which is the cheapest way to take care of it, because she didn't have no money. And through my Facebook, I raised the money to do that. I had people that gave items up. I had people that donated money, and we went, I went over and got to give that woman $1,200 to get her kid, back from the crematorium.
Yeah.
And that's from my community. That's not me. All I did was organize that, dude. Everybody else in this community are the people that did that. Just like Bikes for Tykes. All I did is organize it.
Yeah.
This community is strong, and it's getting stronger every day. And I think it's because of, we are changing stuff. We are making it better for at least a few people, right?
Yeah. And I think about it all the time, because I put out a bunch of content. I try to help, as much as I can and work with businesses and other creatives. And I think I'm like, man, like it might not get 1 million views, right? It'll probably never get there. If it does, that's awesome, but that's not why I'm doing it. I think if one video will help one person, I'm cool with it. If one piece of content hits one person and they can get something from it that'll change their mindset, push them over the edge to start that business. That's what, the Hustle Productions came from, right? That's where the name came from.
Okay, explain.
Is what gets you motivated, right? What gets you going, right?
Purpose.
And what's the purpose, and go after it. I mean, I was sitting at and I'm kind of diving a little bit deeper into where everything came from, is I was sitting at the full-time job I had at the time, listening to a podcast, right? Here we are, full circle,
Joe.
right? Oh yeah.
Joe.
Yeah. And there was one thing, it was funny because I was sitting there listening to it, and it was like he was talking to, everyone has that moment of like,
right, okay.
But I was sitting in a cubicle.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. And I was like, he might be watching me.
Right.
But he was like, you're probably sitting in a cubicle at a job you don't like, not
He
doing.
described it.
And I'm telling you.
He described where you were.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I was just, if I could go back and find that clip, that'll be my homework.
Right. Okay.
But it was one of those where I was like, at first I was like, where are the Truman Show? Where are the cameras? Right. But then I was like, you know what? I think and I was right on that point where I was like, this is like a hobby, something I'm doing for fun. I really got into gaming and streaming and live stream. That's what got me into cameras. And then it just kind of like turned into like this hobby. And then I was like, man, why can't I just do this is what I want to do.
Right. This is fun.
And then that one sentence, that one piece of thing kind of really kind of flipped that switch. And then ever since then, I've been hustling and trying to get the business off the ground more.
I get it.
And it was just one of those where it just kind of snowballed. Right around that time, somebody reached out and said, hey, would you shoot a car shoot, go to a car show and take some pictures? And I was like, yeah. Probably the worst pictures I've ever taken in my life.
But it was the experience.
But it was like, it was that little bit of like, this could be something.
Right. And now you're building your value.
Yeah.
Now you're getting more valuable every day with what you're doing.
Yeah. And
that makes a big difference.
The other part of it is meeting people, right? Having that interaction. And then I was like, well, how do I capture this? Right. At first it was a series where I would go to a business, and I think I might try to incorporate that a little bit more.
Okay.
The What's Your Hustle series. I did 1 or 2 episodes of that. And it was one of those where I was like, I'd sit down, interview him, talk about it. One of the coolest ones that I've ever, and I probably have talked about him more times than he realizes, is he was an artist that went to WVU.
Okay.
And he phenomenal art pieces. I mean, I met him. So he had a short window at Shenandoah, which is where I graduated from. We linked on Facebook, connected at some point. You had people, because you see him, you recognize him. Mm-hmm. And then I saw he started putting out these art pieces. Like, dude, I gotta sit down and talk to you. So I sit down and talk to him, kind of interview style, right? I do a couple little B-rolls of him doing a little artwork. Right. If you really scroll back through the content, you probably come across it. But one of the coolest things, we're sitting there talking, and he goes, well, I'm colorblind. And I was like, I think you can hear it in the video. I'm like, hold on a second, you're colorblind? What? And he goes, yeah, I can only see in shades of orange. So it's like I wish I could see from his perspective. But to then the next clip is this amazing piece of Tupac and this whole, I was like, dude, this is now he's on to bigger and better things. He's doing murals on the side of buildings. Like he's getting hired and getting paid from like to do all these. And I'm just like, after that filming, I was like, man, I want to talk to people. I want to get involved with people. I want to, how can we network? How can we sit down and talk? And, you know,
it is interesting, isn't it?
It's so crazy how it just kind of, it snowballed into this thing. And now I'm like, all right, well, you know, getting into more of like podcasting, being able to have the conversation, ask the questions that are on my mind and that come up along the way. But I'm that might be in the works down the road of how can we kind of make it a little bit more entertaining. You know, obviously even sitting here staring at us is fun.
Right, like right out here where you're at. I mean, you could go out here and just do street interviews for a day.
Yeah.
And tons of what's your hustle. What are you doing today? Because there's people out here playing guitars. There's people out here playing horns.
Yeah. And
there's people out here bumming. What's your hustle? Give me $20. You never know what's going to happen.
That could be a hustle in itself.
Yeah. Hey, I've had dudes out here rap for me for $0.25.
Really?
On the street at nights. Yeah, they rap for me for $0.25.
That's interesting. Yeah. I guess if you do that enough, one, you're honing your skill, honing your craft, and you're making a little bit of money off of it. Right. And who's not going to give up a quarter, you know?
Right, yeah. I gave him $1. I probably gave him $5. It was awesome.
You could go the other route if they're that bad, you know. It might be like, well, I'll give you a quarter to be
leave,
good.
to roll out.
No, that's a joke. That's a joke.
Yeah, but I get it. You know how it is. I've seen a lot of dudes out here that, you know, some of these people out here, they're not all there, bro. You know, we know that when you walk down the street, you know, they're not all there. And people got to admit the truth.
And the crazy thing is everybody has their story. Everybody has has that reason why they are.
And I think that's another thing that my podcast has really made me understand is sometimes those people are in those situations and man, you want to look at them sometimes and you're like, go get a job, go do this, go do that. Why aren't you doing this? But you don't have an understanding of what they've gone through. And then when you get a chance to actually sit down and hear some of the hardships, I just sat with a guy in Tennessee in this video. I think you've seen pieces of it. He said he'd been on the street for 15 years. Like 15 years living on the street, just, man, that's got to be tough. You know what I'm saying? And it makes you think, like, why haven't you got a job in 15 years? Well, he's crippled. He can barely walk. He's been waiting on disability. And if he does get a job, they're never going to give him disability.
You're kind of stuck in that limbo.
So, yeah. So each person's situation is different, man. And it's been hard for me to stop judging people in that way too. But me learning and being able to sit down and talk to people face to face has definitely been something that's changed my outlook.
Yeah. It's definitely changed mine as well. And, you know, I'm not at the same degree as, you know, who you have on your show and who you're talking to, but even just talking with other entrepreneurs and business owners and creatives, like, I mean, the very first episode of the podcast, I sat down with somebody that he's like, you know, he does content for the NFL and MLB. And I was kind of asking, like, let me take notes. How do you get into something like that? But also, like, how do you get into something like you watch these like major sporting events, you see all these cameras on the side and all these different people. And now with social media, like these athletes are actually paying videographers to shoot with their phone or send them clips after just for their social media. And it was one of those where he got connected through Dwayne Haskins Jr. He unfortunately passed away, but he was a Commanders quarterback for a little bit. I think he bounced around to a couple different teams. Unfortunately, I don't remember exactly. But during COVID, when everything was kind of like in that weird bubble, whatever's going on, Dwayne Haskins was looking for somebody he had a workout that he was trying to film, and one thing led to another. They connected on social media or however that conversation started. And he was like, dude, I got a random message and was like, hey, can you be in XYZ place in 2 hours? And the story itself kind of wrote itself out. He's like, I was I think he said he was an hour and a half from his camera and then would have to turn around and drive another hour or something to get to where he was. But he's like, I'm not missing this opportunity. So he's like, rushed, got there, realized, once he got his camera and everything, batteries were dying, like, or not charged, guarantee you know that. So it's one of those where it was like, holy crap. Like he was like telling me this story. He's like, yeah. And it was one of those where I did it just for the experience, just to meet him and make that bond. And then
Right.
one thing led to another. And now, like, I mean, one of the craziest clips he has on social media is, I don't remember what game exactly it was, but there was an overtime touchdown drive, and the dude it literally looks like he is running up to him because he's standing there with his camera. And like, I was like, you could have been in the more perfect time than ever. I probably completely botched that play by play, but
right. But I get it.
But it's just like it then turned into like this, like just from one random message, then went into, and like just stuff like that, man. I hear that, I'm like, I want to, like, that is so cool to me at least, you know, like,
yeah, right. Well, he offered that value, right? He
yeah.
became valuable to that person, man.
And then now, like, he took it, and he was like, I walked away, didn't know if I was ever going to see the guy again. You know, it was one of those where it was, and then I guess the next week or a couple weeks after, he messaged him again. Hey, we got this going. I'm going to, I'm just looking to get like lifestyle content, right? Whatever it was. And he was like, yeah, I'll show up. No expectation of monetizing it. Right. He was just like, I'm here to shoot, to be here when this guy, you know, literally picks up the phone and just see where it goes. Then eventually they built that relationship. He was kind of staying with him through, I think he said through COVID, just because of all the different rules and speed bumps and everything along the way, just made it easier. And he's like, you know, it was one of those where we just were kind of doing this thing, and then it just kind of opened the door for all these other opportunities. I mean, he's got pictures with high name athletes in multiple different sports. And I'm just like, just to be able to network now with those,
yeah, that's definitely important
with athletes at that level, like, it's crazy. And and like I said, it's a little bit different than kind of the you know, what you're sitting down and talking about, but like, kind of just, everybody has their own story. And the other thing I've quickly realized is when I go, hey, you want to be on a podcast? I don't, you might get it as well, but people are like, yeah, I'll be on a podcast. I want to talk. Like, everybody loves talking about themselves, even if they say they don't. They do. That's just the natural way that the human mind works. Is that people are like, oh, I don't like talking about it, and then they proceed to go and talk about themselves.
And I have had people turn me down, but for the most
I've had
part,
one, and it really caught me for a loop because it was really cool. And I was just like, I asked him, and I thought he was joking, and he was like, I was like, would you want to sit down on a podcast? He was like, no. And I chuckled. I thought he was joking. And he goes, no, I'm serious. I probably wouldn't do that. I'm like, cool. All right. That's no problem.
Yeah, that's what my buddy told me.
Yeah.
He asked him, and he was like, man, he was cool with it for a minute, but then he messaged me back, and he was like, you know, I probably don't really want to do that.
Yeah. Which
like,
it's
cool.
not for
that's
everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, man, I get it. You know, you're not a person that takes pictures or does anything on social media anyway, so why would you even care?
Yeah.
It has to be beneficial too. You know what I mean? There has to be either a mutual beneficial scenario where, you know, we're both getting something out of it. Somebody gets to come to promote their stuff. You get a good guest. Like, I'm learning that too. A lot of people do just want to tell their story, which is interesting too. Like, you're not getting paid. They're not getting anything. They're driving an hour sometimes.
We're just two guys sitting here having a conversation. That's really, and eventually if it gets to the point, and, you know, like, eventually if it gets to that point, then yes, you know, there's going to be people that are expecting something out of it, especially if you have a larger name, or the opposite. You're trying to get somebody to come sit down on your channel, and they're a little, you know, it's the other way. They're a little higher up. They're going to probably charge you. And I'm like, I get that. You know, your time is valuable to everybody.
Yeah,
so it's very
the right
interesting.
People to work with.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, finding the right people to work with is definitely a thing, man. I've done a couple podcasts, and some of the guys that I still talk to, like, I could message one of them right now and he would answer me back today.
Yeah.
And then probably the other one, I wouldn't even get a response from.
That's just the nature of the beast.
Again, it comes back to me. One of my things is I'm learning to expect people to be who they are.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I mean, if you're always late, I'm going to expect you to be late. You know what I'm saying? If you're always broke, I'm going to expect you to be broke. You know what I'm saying? So expecting that person that's always late to be there on time, and then being mad at them for not being on time when they've showed me 5 times they're going to be late is just dumb.
Yeah.
So I've kind of started looking at, how have they always done this? You know what I mean? And some of them I look at and be like, I know he's going to be here. He'll be early. He'll be on time. And then other ones I'll be like, he might not even show up.
That's just human nature. I think that's what it comes down to. And I think sometimes you just gotta, I don't want to say go with the flow, because it is tough, especially if you're dealing with other people's time.
Right.
But at the same time, like, I'm not gonna. There's certain people in my life. I know if my back was up against the wall, and I was like, I need you, they'll be there, right? There, I have that core group that I could pick up the phone. There's one in particular. I'm not going to throw names, because then everyone's gonna be like, well, why didn't you say my name? No, I'm not. But it's one of those where I know if I was like, dude, I need your help. He's like, all right, what do I need? What do you need? Right. What do you need me to do? He might not be able to do too much, or depending on whatever, situation he's in at the time. He's got a couple kids, this and that.
Of course.
Life
happens, right?
He will definitely he's one of those where he'll give me the shirt off his back if he needs to. And then there's other people, I always see the either memes or jokes where it's like, somebody's holding you hostage, and you gotta make one phone call, and if they pick up, or if they don't pick up, you're safe, or whatever. I can't remember, but
right.
Like, it's just that play on like who never picks up the phone. I was like, there's a couple people that I know, like if I called, it depends on what they're doing, and
damn, I can't think of one person that would answer every single time. I feel like phones are just more texting than they are answering the phone anymore. I mean, even my girl, like if she's at work, she's not going to answer the phone.
Yeah. So I'll give people the benefit of the doubt at that point. If they're get it, for example.
We have been spoiled through texting, though, haven't we? Sometimes people call me and I'm just like, nope.
Just text them. I'm sorry. Yeah, just send me a text message.
Too busy to answer.
Meanwhile, you're sitting there watching TV.
Just looking at the television.
No.
I have done that, though. I'm a horrible person for that.
No. If that's the worst thing ever, then that
can't be too bad.
So what do you got going on in the near future? I know
whatever, dude, whatever comes up. Like with Ambrosia Acres, which is a local-based hemp farm, we're filming content for that, growing hemp plants and starting a website. And then Spanking Monkeys, I got a website for Spanking Monkeys now where, you can get shirts. I got like this one, and I got other ones with the same stuff about fentanyl. And I think there's a castrate all pedophile shirt on there with a couple statistics on the back. It's just kind of based around that type of stuff. But yeah, moving forward too, man, I think I hope to do this video in Rochester, because like nobody's done a big video about Rochester, New York.
Okay.
So I want to do something where I go up there and can because there's I've been up there recently with another creator, and there's houses in this area that are, bro, they would go for $400,000 here, and they can't sell them for $40,000. Because the streets are so bad, because the crime, the homelessness, the craziness of the streets, they can't even sell some of these houses. So that interests me to the point of like, how's that? He's got a YouTube channel. He was in prison, came home early on compassionate release, became a prison lawyer, and now he's a paralegal on the street.
I think you were telling me.
His name's Chad Marks. Blood on a Razor Wire on YouTube, man. He's definitely a good dude. But I want to go and talk to him because that's where he's from. So anyway, he came home, started a little foundation. He does stuff, gets people out of prison, helps people. He's kind of doing the same type of stuff on a different level. But I think he's a good connect to go up there and make the video with, because he runs a store. He's got these other things. He's got connections. We could get in with, anybody from a homeless person to a business owner to a cop to a resident. And I just kind of want to, work that journalistic story, I guess.
Yeah.
And see how it affects communities. I've even been thinking about coming down here and hitting some of this strip.
Yeah,
just getting some of the
sparking conversation and hearing what people have to say. Because I've been in Winchester since 2011. Granted, I got here when I was 17. Very, I think it was within the month of turning 18 for school. But it was one of those where, like, just even at school, like at Shenandoah University, you had issues, right? And people taking stuff, not taking care of themselves, and alcohol, and just it snowballs. It's one of those where you go from partying and having fun to now.
We just don't want it to become a societal norm. Like, why does it have to be something that everybody does, but doesn't have an understanding of what it could potentially do? When you get into a car and you learn to drive, that you could die in that car, right?
Yeah.
I think we need to make people know that at around the same age that they know a car is dangerous, they need to know the drugs are dangerous.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's all about too. Like, I'm getting ready to do a podcast with a chick that was human trafficked. Like, I'm supposed to talk to her Sunday. I'm so interested, you know? And like in the message, she was like, it's going to be, or something along the lines of, you'd be amazed at how they do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't want to ask a
have
bunch of questions until we can sit down,
Yeah.
but that just seems like, what?
Yeah. Well,
Right.
Now, well, first
How
off,
do
that
they
is
do
like the hook of all hooks, right?
Right.
But at the same time, like, I guarantee that there's ways, you know, like, there's just stories that I couldn't even want to, don't even want to repeat that I've seen online, heard about, where you wouldn't think with it. And it's not like this long drawn out plan, you know, they're following you around for days. They see an opportunity and they react to it, right? They see somebody by themselves or away from the group of people that they're with for a split second, and then boom, it's
They're gone.
As
Scary.
crazy as it sounds, they react to the situation, they do what they need to do, you know. It's insane. So I'm very interested to hear that podcast for sure.
I think that one's going to be good. And then I got another chick that's waiting on a lawsuit to be over, but she survived a plane crash, like a small pilot plane. I think it was her and her husband. Her husband didn't make it. I think one of her children didn't make it. And I think she pulled one of their other kids out. She got burned over like 50% of her body.
Yeah.
But her attitude is one that you just would be amazed. Like, that type of thing would destroy 99.9% of people. And to see her moving on and being as strong and positive as she is amazing to me. And I think it's like, it'll go to show that, like, this woman can go through all this and have literally one of the worst things that could ever possibly happen to you, to watch your husband burn up in a plane crash. Like, come on, man, that's horrible stuff. You never forget. But she can move on and be this person. Like, has what happened to you really been that bad?
Yeah, perspective is a big play. I think the other part of it is, and I'm not trying to take away from people's situations, but I think sometimes people, I don't want to say overreact, but they have a strong reaction to certain things. And I think at the end of the day, you have your good health, you have hopefully, you know, you have your friends and family close to you. So a lot of that stuff, it's a bump in the road, and it's tough, and it's in the moment, it's probably very difficult to get through, but you just gotta, I guess my free advice, right? You just gotta remember, like, hey, my eyes opened up this morning, you know, whatever I got to tackle, I'll tackle. But as long as I, you know, keep putting the 2 feet on the ground and jumping out of bed, slowly moving out of bed every morning.
Cracking. Sounds like Rice Krispies when I get up. It's terrible.
But as long as you still have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, be grateful to be alive, bro. And seize the opportunity. Like, every single day you wake up alive, you know, which is the only way you're going to wake up.
Yeah.
But you have the opportunity to do something.
And the biggest thing is you don't like what you're doing, then go do something you enjoy.
Right. And then another funny thing to me is I see people that'll work so hard for years for someone, and then they try to start their own stuff and want to work half as much. You don't go into business for yourself to work half as much. You go in there to give way more than what you ever gave to anyone else.
Yeah.
I didn't work 13-hour friggin' days when I worked for people. I hated working for them people.
But
now I'm working 13, 14-hour days for myself, and I come home with hell, I might not have made nothing, but I still feel better than I did when I worked at that.
Absolutely.
You know, stupid place over here building concrete.
Yeah, and I think about it all the time.
Building concrete. That sounds so dumb. Building concrete forms for concrete, rather. But yeah, anyways.
Well, you painted a good word picture for sure.
Yeah, right.
You know, I think you hit it. You said it perfectly. Is, and I actually talk about two other business owners about this. Is no one's going to love your business. It shouldn't love your business more than you, right? And that's also plays into kind of what we're talking about, is tough finding the right fit for certain things. And that's why, like, you know, I've had situations, it's just not the right fit, not working. Cool, man. Like, I'm not going to be the one to sit here and be like, whoa. No, it doesn't, because I've had situations where I've been on the other end where I've had to have that conversation. Look, it's not the right fit. I want to keep the connection. I want to keep the network. Right. I want to keep that door wide open. Right. So if you ever do need anything, you know where to, you know. And
I think that's another big part of this too, man, is that social networking that we do. You don't want to burn those bridges. You know what I mean? I have to really dislike you to burn a bridge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to do something pretty cruddy to me, or there has to be something there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, I want to have as many connections as I can, because this is, for me, it's a thing called everybody eats. You know what I'm saying? Which is like, I want everybody to eat. And if me and you can do something together so we can both eat steak, then we're going to eat steak. I'm not going to sit here and eat steak while you eat chicken tenders.
Yeah.
That's just not who I am. I want everybody to benefit from, probably to the point to where that's one reason I have little, less than what I should have, is because I do give away. I do help, and I do want to do more. And money doesn't have this big value to me the way it used to. I've been talking to this other kid that just got out of jail, has been getting off fentanyl for like the last 2 weeks. And the money, he thinks money is so important. And it's like money and nice clothes, and I want this car. And I'm like, bro, that stuff doesn't really have as much value as what you think it does. Yeah, you can buy a nice thing. Everybody wants nice things, and you deserve nice things. But it's not as valuable as love and trust and family and connections with people. I think that's become more important to me than what car I'm driving, how much money's in my pocket. My bills are paid, and I'm happy with that. I'm going to work until they're paid again. But there's too much value placed upon money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everything is not just money. Now, you and I know we can't do this without money. So I have a store. I want to sell shirts because I can't do it without money.
Yeah.
But I wish I could. I wish I didn't have to earn money to do this crap, because I would love to just be able to do it for, fun, but I still have to pay bills. And if I could pay my bills doing this as opposed to what I've been doing, then this is what I would rather do.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what fueled the jumping into the business side. Because like I said, I started just for putting cool Call of Duty montages together. Mm-hmm. That was it. There's a couple people that'll probably see this and they'll be like, yeah, I remember that. I remember that the goof. But you quickly realize that, something like that, it gets a little bit pricey, especially if you want it to be the nicer quality, the professional is, the whole thing, you quickly realize, all right. And then immediately I was like, well, I'm not making much at the job that I was making. It was enough to pay the bills, enough to quote unquote put food on the table and do everything that I need to do, but not much for the hobby that I was getting into. So I was like, well, how can I sit here? How can I take this hobby and make money with it and then put it right back into the business, and then that line right there, I was like, well, I'll put it right back into it. And I was like, that's kind of what you do as a business. And, because I have a business and marketing degree from Shenandoah. So I was like, the other part of it is like, how can I bring these two together? How can I take something, because it's very tough going through, I loved Shenandoah so much. I stayed for a 5th year. I partied my first year anyway, but it was one of those where I got out of there, got to my first real, the big boy job everybody's been talking about for this forever. Got there, and in orientation, I'm sitting next to somebody that just graduated high school. And we're making the same amount of money, but yet now I just racked up all this debt, and I'm just like, all right, I got to figure out a way to bring these together. And that's what kind of blossomed into, running a business and then taking it a step further. Cause I first started with, weddings, family shoots. I did a car shoot, just whatever I can grab. And then I quickly was like, all right, well, how do I tie the knowledge that I have as far as marketing and business and everything I got from Shenandoah, how do I take that and bring that into, a business? And that's what, here we are, fast forward to more of a commercial work and working business to business and, not just your big, huge, whatever corporate jobs. But I mean, yesterday I talked to a gentleman that he does, he's got a trailer that does trash can cleaning. You literally hook up the trash can, it pulls it right over, sprays, cleans the inside, puts it right back down. I'm like, dude, that's a phenomenal business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I cannot tell you how,
nobody
honestly,
wants that job. Nobody wants to do that with their head down and scrub it or anything, bro.
Well, the other part is, who wants to take and throw the trash out when you open up the trash can, your nose gets beat up by last week's, food that's spilled out of the, you're just like, oh my God, so I'm just like, that's
I got a weak stomach anyway.
Yeah. So one of those where I was like, man, that's a great idea. And I was like, let's see what I can do to help you. I'm not going to sit here and go crazy. I'm going to, help you the best I can. And we're in talks and everything, nothing official, but I was just like, man, this is so cool. And it's fun. I love seeing the energy of other businesses where they have that same energy that I have for for everything that I'm doing, but directed towards what they're doing. I'm like, dude, if that
fun.
doesn't pump me up
That's
more
fun
than
to see,
anything,
too.
like, and it's one of those where I'm just like, yeah, this is, I kind of brought it full circle. Now I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, let's get it going. Let's get the wheels turning. Let's get it moving forward.
And it's funny how that takes shape under different people. So when I podcast from a camper. I have a portable studio. I only paid like $650 for my camper. I rebuilt it, but I built it in this dude's backyard because he's got a nice compound, whatever. He had no interest in YouTube, no interest in anything I was doing. And it's been like 9 months. I've been talking his business into doing what I'm doing. And now he won't leave me alone because he's learned how the content can affect his business, but he's also learned that there's dopamine from it. And the dopamine hits he gets from it is enjoyable. He likes answering the comments. He likes seeing how many views the video got. He likes when his friends are saying, making fun of him for things he did or said in the video. He likes that. And now he wants more of it.
Yeah.
And that's what fuels us is that dopamine, I think. And that's in general life, whether it comes to addiction or not. Addiction is dopamine. That's why you're doing those drugs. But once you learn to turn your life around and the things you get done on a daily basis give you those same dopamine hits, you're unstoppable.
And I think they see the two topics, addiction and the dopamine hit, as like, oh, these are two completely different. I guarantee anybody that's listening to this right now has one thing that they are addicted to, that they can't.
Absolutely.
It's whether it's your phone,
coffee,
going to the gym. Coffee is a huge one.
Chocolate.
I mean, there's some people that I know that they're like, man, I can't go more than a couple hours without drinking a cup of coffee. I'm like, you don't think you're addicted to that? You don't think that's what's driving that? But the other, I mean, my biggest thing, and I have tried to kick it like crazy, soda. Oh my gosh.
Sugar, bro.
Oh yeah.
Sugar.
We've talked.
Yeah. So the sugar thing has
been
a thing for me too. I did a recent podcast with a dude about food, and he's really on this quick, this diet thing where you only eat so much stuff. But anyways, it got me thinking to the point of where like I've been wanting to cut sugar out. So normally it's every cup of coffee in the morning is 4 spoons of sugar, and I drink at least 2. So that's 8 spoons of sugar every single morning. So I've been supplementing that with honey.
Oh yeah,
I started out just putting honey in, and I would put 2 spoons of sugar and some honey, and then I got down to 1 spoon of sugar and honey. Now I'm straight sugar or straight honey.
Yeah,
no sugar at all in the morning. So I've cut 8 teaspoons of sugar per day, no less than. Out of my diet, and I think I feel better for it. Like there's certain things that are going to feel better, but also my brain's weird. Like I've quit so many drugs and things like that I'm to the point to where I challenge almost everything. Like I still smoke cigarettes, I smoke other things. But whenever I feel like there's a little bit of addiction to whatever it is, from sugar to coffee to like, I'm starting to challenge that now.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think to myself, why am I doing this? I know this isn't good for me.
Yeah.
I know this, cigarette isn't good, but let me go have one.
And then internal struggle.
I'm like, now I'm feeling bad. I'm halfway through the cigarette. It takes, and I'm almost, and it makes me go, what am I doing to myself?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like these things are all the time, and that can be food or sodas and it's hard. It's hard to stop drinking that stuff. You might think it's just a little thing, but bro, it's not easy.
I quit every morning. No, I'm just kidding.
Right, but I get it.
It's
because
so
I've tried
tough.
to stop the energy drinks too.
Yeah.
And then now I've been drinking them off and on, and now I get a craving.
12
or 1 o'clock will come, and I'll be, damn, a little Red Bull would taste great.
Yeah.
And I have to either not do it, or I'm like,
you fight yourself.
Let me go. I go in and get 2 and put 1 in the refrigerator for tomorrow.
Yeah, you're
loser.
You're fighting yourself.
Yeah.
It's that that's the crazy thing is like everybody has that with something. And if you're saying you don't, I don't believe you. I really don't, unless you are living this absolute perfect life. And then I'm going to say, well, have you ever tried Red Bull? Because it's pretty good. Yeah, but at the same, I do get, at Red Bull, I don't know what they do, but I get a hankering. It's one of those where I'm just like, man, this is like, just gives you that gives you wings. Like I joke about it all the time. Like I ride the bull, but there's a couple people that I work with that I joke around with because they come in, they're tired. We start at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I work a full time job and run the business now. So we get in at 6 o'clock in the morning and we start the day, and I walk in. I try to you might have picked up on it, but I try to have a fun, positive attitude.
For sure.
With everything I do. So I'm walking in right, at the time that I walk in and try to joke around and be happy and this and that. And, you know, they're like, what'd you do? Drink a case of Red Bull? And I was like, got to ride the bull, baby.
Ain't it? And I just don't want to be miserable.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I used to tell them all the time, I'd be like, fix your face, man. What do you mean? I'd be like, you love this. Just pretend like you love it or something, man, because you're killing me.
Because here's the thing is like, you got to kind of think it into fruition or whatever. You know, if you're going to sit here and you're
manifest it, bro.
Yeah. If you're going to hate your job like, don't get me wrong. If I could do this 100% of the time, just sit here and have conversations with people, heck yeah. Sign me up twice, right? But I know at the end of the day, you got to pay your bills. You got to provide for your family. You got to do all these different things. So you have to do these things. So you can either do it miserable and have the worst attitude, or
make it fun.
Crack a joke. I mean, I had one of my coworkers, I literally had her like crying yesterday. And I was just like, man, that's the best feeling in the world is if I can at least make it a fun time while we're sitting here doing what we got to do. And it's a great business. It's like doing phenomenal things and in their own. It's not, you know,
it's a check.
But it's a good, like, I've met some really awesome people working there. I mean, just that, and I've worked at a couple of different places, and this one, they really try to have that work-life balance. They really try to help you with that, you know, the family time when you need it. They have great benefits. Everything's great about it. It's just, you know, it's one of those where it's just not what I would do. And but at the same time, like, it's such a, like, it's tough. I catch myself sometimes. I'm like, man, I wouldn't mind working here for a while. But then sometimes, like, no, I want to go do, you know, I want to do what I'm passionate about. But to kind of rein it back in, I am absolutely 100% the believer that whether you're doing something that is fun or that you hate, you at least got to do it with a positive attitude. And I think that's why, you know, even in school, in middle school and high school, I was the class clown. I was the making funny jokes, doing funny things, you know, being a nuisance to the teacher, whatever you want to call it, you know, and lucky I kind of was able to kind of walk that line where it never got me into too much trouble. Right. But at the same time, I was like, man, what, can't we just have a little fun around here? Like, why has it got to be so serious all the time? And then, you know, it kind of went into college and went into my first job. And I actually had a situation where I was in line to be promoted or get bumped from a 1 to a 2, whatever that is. And this is not where I'm currently, where this is the first job I had many years ago. And I didn't get it. And I was like, man, I was kind of pissed. Because at the time I was like, this is my life. Like, this is how I'm making my money. This is, I need to climb that ladder. So I went to my supervisor at the time. I was like, I just want to get a little bit of clarity. Like, what's going on? And he to my face was like, I just don't think you take the job serious enough. And I was like, well, if that just wasn't a kick in the teeth, because the flip side is I did take the job serious. I did not like the job, but I made the best of it. I tried to joke around, you know, as a call center. I tried to joke around, not, you know, too crazy, but make sure whoever was on the phone with me at the time, they at least got off the phone in a better attitude. Because what people don't realize when you work in a call center is not many people call to tell you everything's okay. Usually they're calling because something's wrong. And you have to deal with that negative attitude all the time. And I'd have people, my coworkers, I can't take another negative phone call. I was like, well, buckle up, sweetheart, because you're about to get another one coming right in. Yeah. But if you get on there and you try to have that positive attitude, and it's funny how that's just kind of stuck with me. And then also, you know, I like to crack. I'm the funniest person I know. That's just the way it is. But it's just having that positive attitude, like you're saying, like, just, you know, even if it's something you don't want to do, at least put a positive spin on it, you know?
Yeah. Try to make the best of everything, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think we're running up on lunchtime pretty soon.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. I'm hungry. My belly's growling already. You can probably hear it in the microphone.
So I appreciate you sitting down with me.
Yeah, for sure. We've been meaning to do this for a minute. We found a good time to do it. That's
absolutely. Cool. Absolutely. And I think, you know, we're definitely going to keep in touch and see what cool things we can do and be a part of, and send me a little bit of information about the backpack stuff that you have going on. I don't remember what you called it. Whatever you have, send it my way. We'll see what we can do.
That'd be cool. And it's this weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Tobacco Hut on Valley Avenue, both days 10 to 1.
Okay.
And then at Horton's Nursery whenever they're open.
And is it taking in donations, or you're?
No, so we actually have hemp clones. So it's
Okay.
clones, good genetics, but it's not THC yet. They're still under the standard of THC that they're still hemp. We have a hemp license. We've talked to the police. Every bit of it's legit.
Sure.
Because of, the clone seeds take like 2 or 3 weeks longer to even get to the point that these are already starting.
Okay.
So you basically have a full mature plant that's going to grow faster, but they're $25 a piece. It's no more than 4 to a household, but every $25 fills a backpack.
I got you. So do you also take donations as well?
Sure. Yes. If you don't want to plant, that's fine too.
Yeah.
It'll be under Ambrosia Acres on Facebook. So I don't really know what the Cash App is right now, but if you need to contact me, let me know. I can definitely figure it out.
We'll get your information. Make sure if anybody wants to donate or even.
Absolutely. And like say any businesses or anything that want anything, we'll definitely drop your name. Like we're down to promote whoever wants to help out. That's
cool.
Fine.
All right, man. I think that wraps it up. We'll put all your, tag you and link you down in the description, get you kind of pushed out on social media, and try to get the word out even a little bit more. Just get other eyes on it, and that's the name of the game.
Man.
Talking about So, all right, guys. I appreciate everything. That we talked about. I think it was good, nice conversation.
Good conversation for sure. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
There you go. He knows what he's doing. So, all right. See you later, guys.
Nice.